Welcome to ACTPod, a podcast show that sheds light on the stories and impact of the social sector. The show is proudly powered by Aspire Coronation Trust Foundation. Let's begin the change.
Hello there. You are welcome to yet another insightful episode of your favorite podcast show, ACTPod, our story, our continent. You know how we roll. We like to bring African icons, change makers in the continent who are doing great work in Africa and for Africans. Today we're going to be looking at how, this wonderful woman is tackling unemployment in Nigeria through the empowerment she does for young people. I'll be speaking today with Ms. Funmi Adeyemi, who is the Chief Executive Officer of After School Graduate Development Center, AGDC. I remain Abiodun Owa, and I'm going to be your host on this episode. You are very, very welcome, ma'am.
Good morning, Abiodun.
Good morning again, and thank you very much for finding time out of your busy schedule, to be here today. So we want to talk about what you do at After School Graduate Development Center. How did you even come about it? And what are the things that you've been doing? What are the challenges you've been facing? What are the changes that you have gone through, and so on and so forth? But before we delve into that, we would like to know, who is Funmi Adeyemi and how did you come about starting AGDC?
Okay, thank you for inviting me, Abiodun. Funmi Adeyemi. Started my life career in the banking industry. Okay. I was in banking for like 25 years. Mm-hmm. Retired as a deputy general manager 14 years ago. But while I was still in the bank, interestingly, my current chairman, Mrs. Ibukwawushika, called a couple of us together and said, look, we need to do something about youth unemployment. She said, look, we all can't just be comfortable, thinking our children are doing okay, and we don't think of other people. That if we sit down, it's going to be, it's a time bomb waiting to explode on us. So by the time she finished, two of us decided to team up with her to set up AGDC, After School Graduate Development Center. And so, even though I was still working, but I invested and we started. So initially it was all about getting people out of the unemployment market. So it was either enterprise and employability. Because, a lot of people say Nigerian graduates are unemployable. And sadly, Nigerian graduates are very intelligent, very hardworking, we're diehards.
Yeah.
But because of certain skills missed out, while growing, or the educational system, the failure of the educational system, so a lot of them are truly unemployable. So initially, we did a lot more of an employability. So we put people in a class for 4 weeks, and basically we just equip them with skills that they need to get jobs. I mean, you'll be shocked that a number of them will come to us and say, Ma, now I know why I never got jobs. Now I know why I didn't do well in interviews, because they just didn't know. There were so many things. So of course, initially it was such a, we made a lot of successes, a lot of, and then after training, we send them off to intern in organizations. Now we're very careful about the kind of organizations we send them to. Because we didn't want them to go to places where they would unlearn, the things that learned, So it was good. In fact, some employers used to call us, do you have any new people we want to employ? We really love the people we got from you.
Awesome.
Because it was a very comprehensive class, 4 weeks of self-awareness, of emotional intelligence, of customer service, of mock interviews, assessment centers, of everything, etiquette, communication, writing. It was, so they came out totally different. Some people said to us that, look, the 4 weeks I spent with you is more valuable than the 4 years I spent in uni. So it was, but then after a while, we realized that there was so much that we could do, because how many jobs do we really have compared to the number of unemployed people that we have? So we then started doing a lot of enterprise. So then we put people in class again and equip them with skills they need to be able to start a business. Basic business, writing a business plan, basic accounting, basic marketing, customer service. And then, we even went a step further, to now get seed capital. We teamed up with the state government initially, and we gave them, just not too large sums, but enough to start something. So we've evolved, over time, doing so many things.
Awesome. So I love what AGC does, because when you started with the fact that you were equipping them with employability skills, and I was wondering, does everybody actually fit into the entrepreneurship, the workplace setting? And then I love the fact that you now also talked about how you also equip them with enterprise skills, because not everyone will fit into the white collar job, the 9 to 5, something like they're not just designed for that, and it's great what you're doing with. Do you have a class of people that you particularly work with, or do you just work with anyone who is in need of these particular skills?
Okay, so because a lot of the time we work with fund, from different people, we get funding. And so some funds are specific to, some areas or some groups of people. But basically we work with different people. So obviously for employability, most times they're graduates. But for our enterprise, they don't have to be graduates. So we work depending on what skill we're training them on. For right now, for instance, my pet project is a teacher training, course. And why did I go into that? Like I said, a lot of the people or a lot of our graduates that are termed as unemployable is because, of a deficiency in the educational system.
Yes.
And so I thought that I got a fund that allowed me express myself, decide on what you want to do. And I thought, what? If we can train people in the elementary, school, if we could train teachers that teach children in elementary school, it would make a difference, because that's where the shortfalls come. If you miss learning how to read or write properly in elementary school, it'll be tough to catch up. That's where they learn how to pronounce words, how to read properly. So that's just so for me, elementary education, because anybody can learn maths and English. Maths and science. That's why you have so many brilliant Nigerian, children doing well, coming out with first class in engineering and, what have you. But they can't write well. They can't express themselves well. So that elementary education is something that we need to address as a nation, because that is what will stop us from producing unemployable graduates in future.
So I'll just quickly ride on that, that you have mentioned education, because it seems to actually be the missing link here. If you do not have, like you have said, the right kind of education, then it will be difficult for you to catch up, So in what you do at AGDC, do you by any chance, work with the government, for example? Because if you keep doing this all by yourself, and maybe a few other non-profits or social enterprises are doing this, then we'll keep working in silos. But then what we need is a systemic change. And for that to happen, you need to have policies that will support it. Is there something that AGC is doing with the government, with the policymakers, for example, to address, these gaps so that they will begin to tackle them from the roots?
That we actually do try to work with government. We've successfully worked with a couple of states' governments. We've not done much in the federal, which is something I know that we need to address, because you see, where the policy formulation, in fact, with Nigeria, I won't lie, it's not like the policies are not in place.
It's implementation.
In fact, implementation is a huge problem, especially when government think they can do it by themselves. That's one. Secondly, you see, because when you go to, for instance, the body that supervises elementary education in Nigeria is UBEC.
Yeah.
And if you go to UBEC, they actually give the state's suburb offices an allocation every year for training. Yes. So a lot of government school teachers actually would have access to training more than private schools. So my real problem, I won't lie, government can do better, a lot better, if the implementation is well done. But you see, the bigger problem is the private schools. Because I don't know how many private schools we have in Lagos, for instance.
Countless.
They're countless. But a lot of them they're not doing well. I mean, they're struggling. When parents can't afford to pay school fees, they will employ mediocre teachers.
True.
So some private schools will employ secondary school dropouts, primary school dropouts to teach. So what will a blind man teach? You know what I mean? So a lot of the problem, and I mean, if you send your child to one of the good schools, you're almost sure that they have decent teachers, even though the best school in Nigeria is limited by the quality of teachers we have.
True.
You know what I mean? They have to employ some will employ expatriates, but they can't. All the teachers can be expats.
True.
So if the better schools employ the better teachers, then the multitude of not too great schools are stuck with what they can get. So you'll be shocked at the kind of teachers. So the problem still exists. So in fact, in the teacher training I'm doing, with the funding I have, I'm even actually reaching out more to people to go to the private schools, because that's where, the bigger problem is.
Yes.
The government schools in Lagos State, I mean, once I went to see the commissioner when I wanted to send my teachers there to intern. And she was like, oh, no, I'm not interested, blah, 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 blah. A lot of these teachers want to work for us because we pay more, we pay a lot more. The state actually pays very decent, salaries compared to a lot of the private schools.
So what would you like to see the government do, differently? Let's say, okay, they want to start from somewhere now. Where should they start from?
The government should set up, a good committee with people who have the technical skills. You know what I mean? So it's not just about politics. It's not about people who have good skills in identifying the problem and coming up with solutions. And they should not try to implement by themselves.
True.
There's got to be a standard, because we all went to government schools. I went to Queen's College. How much did my parents pay? 60 naira per term, boarding school. You know what I mean? And you got the best education.
Yeah.
You got the best education. But now, a lot of parents are struggling to pay, unbelievable fees, and they're not even getting the kind of education we got for virtually free. So we need to, it's something that it's a crisis that we have. So it's something that needs to be taken really seriously, because, I was just reading something on my way here on my phone. Some lady in the UK says, Nigerian, I don't know how the way they train doctors in Nigeria is the best. That she had to undergo a surgery in the UK, and the doctors that sorted out, there was a complication, but the Nigerian doctors, amazing. The nurse that attended to her, amazing. And she was actually saying there's something about the quality of training they get in Nigeria. And it's true, our people are doing awesome things because we are intelligent. And Nigerians, once they put their mind to something, they do it. We're diehards. We don't get, we don't lose out or give up easily.
No, we don't.
So with the right kind of education, the right kind of support, which is something, and the thing about it is that when they want to do things sincerely, they know what to do.
True.
We know the right people to put. We know the right system to put in place for implementation, because that's what we have. A lot of things are right on paper in Nigeria, but implementation is the problem.
True. Very, very true. Okay, so I hope that the right person is listening to this podcast so that they can begin to take the step, in the right direction. So let's also now go back into, the great work that you are doing. Partnering with government is one thing, and I know that you probably would agree with me that you can't do this alone. You even need, a lot more partnerships and collaborations if you really want your impact, to continue to be long-standing. So besides the government, are there other stakeholders that you partner with, that you collaborate with to carry out your interventions?
Oh, definitely. I mean, they say no man is an island. So we use everyone and anyone that we need, for any particular, projects that we're doing, because that's just the only way you can survive. So if we need, other school owners, if you need, organizations, if we need an arm of government, We need developmental organizations. We go after whoever we need.
What about the private sector? Do you work hand in
Oh,
hand
yes.
with them?
You know, fortunately for me, you know, because of my background in banking,
Okay.
you're not afraid of approaching anyone. You know, the worst you get is no. So, I mean,
And
so
you try again.
Yeah, you try again. You never give up. Yeah. So for that reason, anyone that we need, we go after.
Okay, so tell me a bit about the impact that you've had so far, you know, at AGDC on the people who you've been working with, your beneficiaries. What can you say about the impact of AGDC?
Okay, I'll give an interesting one, which is, you know, one of my successes with your fund, Act Foundation. Yeah.
Awesome, yay.
Yeah. So the first time we worked with you, we had to do some work in Benin, Edo State. And I trained in like three things: photography, makeup, then solar. And, you know, interestingly, there was one particular girl that joined the solar class because she was albino, and I thought, you know, I'm a bit, you know, afraid because the sun is not good for them. But, you know, she insisted on being in that class.
Wow.
Surprisingly, you know, she's ended up being the most successful in that whole class. Now, so these were people that didn't know anything about solar. It was solar installation and sales. They came with, you know, they learned. We divide them into groups, you know, in the class, and told them to come up with projects. It's a standard. We always divide them into groups and make them come up with projects. So they all came up with interesting projects. After the training, some of them actually came together to form a company.
Wow.
Oh, yes.
That's
And guess what? The state government now gave them a contract for about 30 million at the time.
Wow.
I mean, this is like 7 years ago, you know? So, I mean, that was really, and they've continued. They're still in that business headed by this girl. You know, so for me, that was really amazing for people that, you know, didn't know anything about it. And so that's what they do.
Great.
Yeah.
Great work. Okay. So like a constant that we always hear of course, and that we expect people to have are, you know, hurdles, challenges, things happen and then you have to deal with them. At AGDC, yes, you do fantastic work. But what are some of the hurdles that you've had to cross? What are the challenges that you faced in you know, doing what you do for, you know, young people, for women, for your audience? And how have you been overcoming them?
Many hurdles. But sometimes it's the attitude of the people you're even training. You know, so some of them, I mean, like I said, even though our young people are amazing, but sometimes they have an entitlement mentality when it comes to this. And sometimes when people get things for free, they don't appreciate it as much.
Sure.
So we try to drum it in, we try to make them understand, you know, but it's tough sometimes. But another problem is sometimes the fund that you get, they come with age limits. You know what I mean? So that excludes certain people. And sometimes it's the more mature people that appreciate, you know, these efforts the more. And so they're the ones that would be more serious sometimes. You know, it depends. Sometimes you have amazing classes that you don't have any problems at all. But sometimes you do have this. And then, of course, there's the problem of funding.
That is one major constant.
It's a major, you know. You do a budget, prices go crazy along the line, you know.
Imagine.
Sometimes you struggle, you know, but we keep on trudging. But funding, it will be, you know, we could do a lot more with more funds.
Okay, so in terms of funding, perhaps you want to tell us a bit about how you have also been relating with your donors, your funders. Is there something you want to tell us about that other nonprofits can also learn from? I know that the funds are dwindling. It's as if it's getting slimmer and slimmer, and then there are more people coming on board, you know, in the nonprofit space, and then you just have to, you know, make do with what you have. But what are the things that you have been doing to help you cope so far?
We just try to deepen our relationships. We try to come up with more projects. What I'm very concerned about is I try to make all my projects things that are necessary, things that are important for the growth of the nation at large. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So sometimes I tie them, to specific needs.
True.
So when you do that, sometimes it becomes, they almost can't say no because it is tied to a specific need. It's tied to solving, a problem, a major problem. So that's what I try to do. I don't just come up with projects for the sake of doing it.
Okay.
I mean, yes. So there'll be projects that I'm passionate about myself, but there'll be projects that would actually make a difference in the lives.
So that will bring me to sustainability. Now we keep talking about sustainability, which is very, very important. We should go beyond just implementing projects to doing things that would stay with the people. And I love the fact that what you do stays with them, whether it is employability skills or whether it is enterprise skills, it stays with them forever, whatever it is they have gained. But for you as AGDC, what do you put in place to ensure that what you have done, what you did 5 years ago, what you did 4 years ago, 3 years ago, the success is still sustained afterwards?
Okay, so one of the things that we do is that every class that we train, we keep in touch with them. So we always form a group. So we're keeping them abreast of developments in the industry, in the space.
Okay.
So we throw information their way, but we keep in touch with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so what else can you tell us about your journey with ACT Foundation?
Well, with ACT, I must say that we've done a lot of things, interesting things. ACT has actually stretched us in terms of, so the first time we worked with you in Edo, we did it all by, with you. The second time we did it with you. The third time, the states came on board as well. So ACT trained a certain number of people. The state government trained a certain number of people, all on the same thing, because they saw the good work that we're doing with ACT money. And they thought, you know what? If we come on board with you, we can do more. Yeah. So that has been, and they were quite pleased with, what you've done, what we've done with you. And so that was why. And then we extended the same thing to Ogun. Last year, we went in with ACT money, but Ogun State came on board as well.
Awesome.
And so instead of just doing Abeokuta, the capital, like we had planned to, we ended up doing 3 cities. Yes. So it's and you should have been at the graduation. It was amazing. The way they were excited, the way, the difference that the way they appreciated the impact of ACT.
Awesome. We're glad to hear this. and of course, talk about strategic